This Hannibal from the Hannibal TV.com with a daily wrestling news update. And before I get into the daily wrestling news, I am doing an extended Skype interview with Val Venis tomorrow. I did a shoot interview with him last year, and it was very well received. So anyone with questions for me that they would like to ask Val Venis, put them in the comments of this video. PW Insider is reporting that Ted Hart, aka Edward Annis, was released from Richmond City Jail in Virginia earlier this afternoon after being arrested for the third time in 6 weeks in the state of Virginia. His records indicate he was released following a court order, and his girlfriend did make a statement earlier this week saying she did not want to press charges against him for the latest incident that he was involved with, which is what he was in jail for. So that probably has something to do with why he got an early release. AEW did a bunch of tapings in Georgia this week, possibly as much as 2 months worth of TV tapings. WWE is scheduled to tape again sometime over the next week. We don't know where yet, as technically, from what I understand, with the lockdown in Florida, that could potentially be going against the Florida rules if they continue to tape at the Performance Center. They put this in the Wrestling Observer today, so I'll mention it again on here because I have had people ask me about it. The Great North Wrestling event on August 8th, which was supposed to be our 13th anniversary event, has been postponed indefinitely due to this coronavirus. We don't know when this lockdown is going to end, and it's had a devastating effect on the economy already. So we have no plans on running until things get back to normal. I am doing a Skype interview with former WWE Spanish commentator Hugo Savinovich later tonight. And the reason I'm doing a Skype interview with him is because I recently did a breakdown of Carlos Colon's statements about the Bruiser Brody murder, and somebody sent me a video of Hugo doing an interview with the killer, Invader, about a month or so after the killing, and Invader had a baby on his lap. He was really trying to come off as a baby face, and apparently he actually explained the killing situation, but it was in Spanish, so I couldn't understand it. So what I'm going to be doing this interview with Hugo about was, what exactly was Invader telling you in this interview? What was his excuse for committing the killing? I did do a post on Kevin Sullivan yesterday, how they defamed him in that Dark Side of the Ring documentary. Not going to say anything as to whether he's looking into legal action on it or not, but again, they accused him in that documentary of abusing Nancy Sullivan. However, the only record of any abuse between him and Nancy Sullivan is when she was actually put in jail for coming after him with a knife in the year 2000, and Nancy Sullivan actually filed for divorce in 2003 against Chris for threatening her. So those are like the two documented abuse in that situation. But some people were saying, well, why didn't Kevin Sullivan do the interview with Dark Side of the Ring? Just want to clear something up right now. I've done 3 extended career interviews with Kevin Sullivan. In the first extended career interview, he talks about Chris Benoit in detail. It was a 3-hour interview. In the other 2 interviews he did, he told me before we even did the interviews, he didn't want to talk about the murders anymore, but I could ask him about Nancy. Have you guys ever thought of, first of all, this is pretty traumatic for a guy like Kevin to have to continuously repeat this story. And second of all, do you guys realize that they actually pay people for appearing in Dark Side of the Ring? Maybe they didn't meet Kevin Sullivan's fee. You ever think of that? Kevin lives in Seattle. I know they film, from what I understand, the New York and Toronto area. Unless he's getting a big fee, why would he want to fly somewhere and explain a story that he's been talking about for years? So think about that. People are compensated for their appearances, and sometimes the compensation isn't worth it to some people. And finally, I did a video about my latest compilation video was about Kevin Owens. Had overall very good reaction about that. A lot of people like hearing the real side of what these legends think. But I had some comments from obviously Kevin Owens fans saying like Sid will never accomplish what Kevin Owens accomplished, and Rick Steiner won't, and all this. Give me a break. Those people were not around when Sid was in the wrestling business. I attended so many house shows and TV tapings when I was younger, and the pops that Sid would get were absolutely deafening. So yes, I am not a fan of slapping your leg when you're doing a super kick, slapping your leg, doing anything. Not a fan of high spots. I'm not a fan of wrestlers who look like average people wrestling. I'm not a fan of wrestlers wrestling in basically gym clothes. So that's my opinion. If you like that, good for you. But that's not the kind of wrestling I like. That's why I don't watch wrestling anymore. And it's not just Kevin Owens that I don't find entertaining. Like there's hardly anything on wrestling I would watch these days. I am more of an MMA fan.